Welcome back, everybody, to Niners Now. I'm your host, Brady Grustas, at Grustas Brady on X. You can follow me there. And today we're going to be going over all the winners and losers from the Niners' third win of the season. And of course, stick around until later in the show because it is time to check in on our division rivals. The NFC West is looking like one of the best divisions in football, but how did each team get to where they are now? Before we begin, go ahead and subscribe down below, leave a like, leave a comment, and let's get into it. So, to start off today, we've got some more minor injury news for the 49ers. They obviously lost Nick Bosa for the year, but there were some other players who got banged up in week 3 as well. Michael Williams, Renardo Green, Jawan Jennings, and Mac Jones are all considered day-to-day with their respective injuries, and rookie defensive tackle CJ West is having surgery to repair a broken thumb. Now, don't worry, Kyle Shanahan did say that West could, in theory, play with a cast, and it sounds like at most West is going to miss one game. He should still have a chance to play against the Jaguars. Defensive tackle's thumb is way less important to their game than a wide receiver or a quarterback's thumb. And Brock Purdy is supposed to be back at practice once again this week, so hopefully he can play on Sunday. We'll be monitoring that situation and all the injury situations as the week goes on. Now let's go on to our Week 3 stock report and talk about 3 players who are raising their stock and 3 who might be doing the opposite. This was a bit of an ugly game and a very weird one, so it's kind of hard to find anyone who stood out for good or bad reasons. But luckily, I have 6 players to talk about today. First, let's discuss safety / big nickel / Sam linebacker Jair Brown. Brown was a big part of the game plan in Week 3. He played 25 defensive snaps, and that's easily the most of the season for him. He's honestly played pretty well. He was in the right place at the right time in the run game more often than not. He was fitting the run with speed and decisiveness, and he probably would have had a sack on Kyler if Sam Aquanu was able to actually set the edge. More on Samo later. But Jair allows this defense to be flexible. We hear all the time about how Kyle loves a guy like Kyle Juszczyk because he can run all sorts of plays out of all sorts of formations. Juice's versatility is a huge reason that this offense has been so successful for all these years. And while I don't think that Jair Brown is going to have that much impact on the defense, I do think that he can be a nice glue guy. We did see some Luke Gifford in this game for a bit when the Cardinals would go heavy personnel, and we saw Upton Stout in some more spread out formations as well, but in some of those in-between formations, Saleh did put Jair Brown out there on the field, and it was working. So stock up 2 weeks in a row for Jair Brown. Now, is it fair to say that Ricky Pearsall has the best hands on the 49ers? George Kittle probably gives him a run for his money, and McCaffrey's hands are really good too, but Ricky catches everything. He had 8 catches for over 100 yards in Week 3 and is now 3rd in the NFL in receiving yards. Ricky, he's just so good. He's got amazing hands, he's such a savvy route runner, and his body control is actually unreal. I feel like I rarely see him make like a normal catch. He's constantly twisting and contorting his body into the optimal position to catch a pass. I can't wait until we see a Ricky Pearsall touchdown this year. He's been doubled pretty much every time the 49ers get into the red zone, so he hasn't gotten the chance to score yet. But he's been a crucial part of the 49ers passing game in all 3 weeks so far. We've been talking about it since Deebo Samuel got traded back in, I believe, March. If Ricky is good, the 49ers are probably going to win games. And guess what? He's pretty damn good. So stock up for Ricky. So that is one first-round pick already paying dividends for the Niners, but luckily, we've got another who's starting to pop off the screen. Michael Williams had his best game as a pro in Week 3, and you could tell while it was happening. We knew all the way back in April that his run defense would be ready to go from day 1, and it has absolutely been as advertised. He had a couple of highlight run stops in this game, and that's honestly not an easy thing to do. Stopping the run is not always a flashy job, but Michael makes it pretty exciting. And we also knew back in April that the pass rush would need improvement, right? We did know this. In Week 1, he led the NFL in double team rate and was held to 0 pressures and 0 pass rush wins as a result. But since then, the pressures have arrived. On Sunday, he had a pressure percentage of nearly 14% and a pass rush win rate. There's a tongue twister for you. A pass rush win rate of 20.7%. Both of these numbers are the highest in his very young career. And that's all with an injured wrist, right? He is day-to-day with that wrist injury. He was able to play through it on Sunday, but, he's not at 100%. But Michael's strength and his power as a bull rusher are translating to the NFL level, and he's starting to use his hands better as well. Kyle Posey put a really nice clip out on Twitter of Michael controlling the left tackle with his hands, pushing him right into Kyler Murray's lap. It was a great play. I would recommend you guys check it out if you haven't seen that clip. So it's only been 3 weeks for Michael, and we are already seeing noticeable improvements in the pass rush. But what's next for Michael is disengaging. He's got to be able to shed the blockers and hit the quarterback. Sacks get a lot easier when you can disengage cleanly, so that's what I want to see from him over the next couple of weeks. Like I said before, though, this game was an ugly one, and it looked for a while like the 49ers were actually going to lose. So who struggled in Week 3? I'm going to start with defensive tackle Kalia Davis. Kalia's been solid so far this year, but I thought this was clearly his worst game. The Cardinals attacked him in the run game. They ran some trap blocks on him that took advantage of his aggressiveness and his tendency to get upfield. They would let him do that, then seal him out of the play while the running back scooted right behind him for a nice gain. Davis also missed a few tackles, including a big one on James Conner on an early 3rd and short run for Arizona. If Davis was able to wrap up, he would have gotten the stop. Arizona would have punted, would have been Niners ball, but instead the Cardinals kept driving. But the main reason that I've got Davis as a stock down guy is that for the first time, he played the exact same number of snaps as Alfred Collins. Collins, obviously the second rounder defensive tackle, he's been earning more and more time as the year goes along, and he's got to take those snaps away from somebody. I thought Jordan Elliott played better than Kalia Davis did in Week 3, so if that trend continues, then I could totally see Davis's snap count going down. It's something to watch going forward, for sure. Davis's snap count might be going down, but Sam Aquanu's snap count is probably going to go up, and I don't know that that's a very good thing for the 49ers. Samo had a nice season debut, but he was really struggling in Week 3. Stock down for Samo for sure, because in particular, he could not keep contain on Kyler Murray. Just could not do it. There were multiple times in this one where Samo just couldn't get to the edge quick enough. He would lose the outside shoulder, and Kyler would just skip right outside him and scramble for a whole bunch of yards. And if that wasn't bad enough, Aquanu also had a couple of missed tackles that I noticed. This is definitely not a good sign for Samo, and with Bosa gone, he's going to have to play better because he's going to be playing more. I know that Kyler is maybe the most dangerous scrambling quarterback in the NFC, so it might not always look that bad for Samo when the quarterbacks are less athletic. It might look a little easier for him, but regardless, his tackling and his ability to contain, that's going to be an area that has to improve. We're going to have to play Arizona again down the line, so need to see more from Samo, stock down from him in Week 3. Now, I've got one final stock down guy, and for me, it's got to be Isaac Guerendo. Last year, Guerendo was an intriguing young option who had a couple of huge plays out of the backfield, sort of a developmental height, weight, speed kind of guy. This year, he hasn't gotten a single carry. He's been completely relegated to special teams. And he hasn't been any good there either. He's not a good kick returner. Every time he, fields a kick return, it's a net negative play. He only gets to the 20 or the 25 instead of the 35, which is what it would be in a touchback scenario. I mean, there's really not much to talk about here because Guerendo's just not involved whatsoever. And anytime he touches the ball, it goes poorly. I wouldn't be surprised, in all honesty, if he was a healthy scratch at some point soon. Feels like there's just no trust with him whatsoever from the coaching staff. Now, for our final segment, let's talk about the NFC West. The Niners sit in first place at 3-0, but they are not running away with this division quite yet because all three of the Rams, Cardinals, and Seahawks are 2-1, just one game back from the 49ers. And they've all taken very different paths to get to the same record. So let's take a little look into each of the Niners division opponents, starting with the Rams. The Rams, to me, are still the best team in the NFC West. They were my pick to win the division heading into the year, and now that Nick Bosa is done for the season, they are still going to be my pick. With Matthew Stafford and a young, promising defense, this team, they're absolutely terrifying to me. And Devontae Adams has been an awesome addition for them so far. He has not lost a step. But the main threat, of course, is still Puka Nacua. Nacua leads the entire NFL in catches with 29 and yards with 333 in the first 3 weeks of the season alone. That's almost 10 catches and 111 yards per game. He has yet to get into the end zone this year, but you have to assume that that's going to come eventually, right? And the defense, of course, has been flying around, as per usual, especially that front seven. I want to shout out Nate Landman, who was kind of an underrated free agent addition for them. He's been making some really nice plays at linebacker, but you know Kyle Shanahan is going to try his absolute hardest to put Landman in a blender come week 5. And one more standout for the Rams, edge rusher Byron Young has had a really nice year. 4 sacks already in only 3 games. Young is only a half sack behind Rashawn Gary, who has the most in the entire NFL. So this Rams team is talented, they are well coached, thanks to Sean McVay, and they are showing up on the field. So why aren't they 3-0? Well, because they blew a 26-7 lead to the Eagles last week. The Eagles are a good team, of course, but the Rams had them in a huge hole, and it just wasn't enough. 26-7 is 3 scores. That should be plenty of room to seal the victory, but no. The Rams had 2 of their fourth quarter field goal attempts blocked, including the potential game winner. It was an absolutely embarrassing collapse for the Rams. But the Rams did do a good job to put away 2 feisty AFC South teams in the first 2 weeks of the year. They beat the Texans 14-9 in week 1, and despite being tied 10-10 at halftime with the Titans, they pulled away and won 33-19 in week 2. So the Rams are on their way to another winning season, presumably, but if they want to take that division crown, they're going to need to beat the Niners on Thursday Night Football in week 5. So what about the Cardinals? Well, we obviously know what went down in week 3, right? We've just been talking about it. The Cardinals just couldn't put the game away, and now they've lost the engine of their offense, James Conner, for the entire season. This offense is going to look grim going forward, I'll be honest, especially if they can't get Marvin Harrison Jr. rolling. Now, luckily, I do like their defense, and I think it'll keep getting better once they get back Walter Nolan and Will Johnson, who were their top 2 rookies this year. But unless Kyler Murray starts to elevate the guys around him, I just don't really see much of a ceiling for this team, especially if they have such a difficult time closing games. They obviously didn't close out against the Niners, but in week 1, they were in a 1-score game with Spencer Rattler and nearly lost that one. And in week 2, they nearly blew a 24-point lead to the Panthers. It was 27-3 in the second half, and the Cardinals gave up 19 unanswered points. Now, luckily for them, they did end up beating the Panthers, but these late-game collapses are starting to get really worrying for Arizona. They absolutely have to start strong in every single game they play to even have a chance at winning the game. And that's going to be pretty tough to do in week 4 because they'll be playing on Thursday night against the Seattle Seahawks. Speaking of, let's talk about Seattle now. We just saw the Seahawks drop their season opener to the 49ers thanks to some Brock Purdy and Jake Tunge's heroics and a vintage Nick Bosa game-winning play. But this defense is absolutely legit. They put on 2 more fantastic performances in weeks 2 and 3, stifling Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers, and then putting the Saints in an absolute blender. The Seahawks beat the Saints 44-13. If you missed that game, go watch the highlights. It was absurd. Now, there were also some great special teams plays, including a Torrey Horton 95-yard punt return touchdown. But man, Seattle putting up 44 points is scary, no matter how you slice it. I'm glad that the Niners don't play them again until week 18. Of course, that game will feature those spectacular rivalry jerseys. And yeah, it's just the Saints, right? But Seattle is starting to get comfortable with Clint Kubiak on offense, and that defense has officially arrived. Josh Jobe has been phenomenal for them so far in the secondary, and so has the former LA Ram Darian Kendrick. Kendrick was awful for the Rams. I don't know what changed in Seattle, but he's got 2 interceptions already. Devon Witherspoon and Ernest Jones are still dominating. Leonard Williams is fantastic. Byron Murphy is taking a big step this year. And on offense, Jackson Smith-Njigba is just an absolute monster. Niner fans, remember, he was torching us all game long. JSN is currently top 5 in the NFL in catches and second in receiving yards behind only Puka Nacua. top 3 receiving yards in the NFL, all in the NFC West. It's Puka at 1, JSN at 2, and Ricky Pearsall at number 3. There's a fun fact for you. JSN is finally being unlocked, right? And it is a scary thing to watch. I still kind of can't believe that the Niners won that Week 1 game because the Seahawks, I don't think they're a fluke. I believe in this team, and I think that they will actually push for this wild card. Of course, that starts on Thursday night in Week 4, where they will have to take down Arizona. So that is it for this episode. Who do you think is the 49ers' biggest threat in the NFC West? And who do you think the Niners' biggest standout and biggest disappointment have been so far this season? Let me know down below. Leave a comment, leave a like, and let me know if there's any topics that you'd like to see me cover. Thank you all for watching, and subscribe for 49ers videos 5 days a week. I'm Brady Grustas, at Grustas Brady on X. This has been Niners Now, and I'll see you tomorrow.